Welcome to the Live United podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Guardiola. I am the current vice president of the Community Engagement and Government Relations team. And today I am honored to have a very special guest, Isabel Flores, who works with Channel 2 News. And we are excited about having her here. So thank you, Isabel, for joining us.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I mean, it's just an honor to be here. And especially, with the Tulsa Area United Way doing so much for the community.
No, well, thank you. Well, I mean, it's a village, right? We always talk about all of us working together to help humanity. So, Isabel, tell us what brought you to Tulsa.
Well, it's funny. So I actually came here for work. But the first time I came here to visit, I fell in love with the city. Everyone was so sweet. And I had no idea it was as diverse as it is. I mean, I met people from all continents almost, people from Africa, people from Mexico, people from Ecuador. I mean, it's just amazing to see the diversity here.
So when you first got here, what were your initial impressions? I mean, like fresh 30 minutes, hour, 2 hours, what was your initial impression?
Well, it's funny because, again, I talk about diversity, and I think my Uber driver was somewhere from the Middle East. I think he was from Sudan or somewhere around there. And again, I think it was just really surprising to see how diverse the community was. I remember my family and I went to TJ Maxx to pick up some stuff for me to move in. And I think everyone in there spoke Spanish. It was so funny.
Oh, no, I did. TJ Maxx, Ross. I mean, you go in there and it's, for me, growing up with immigrant parents, I have that same feel of being with my mother shopping at these stores. So it's kind of this familiarity feeling. Well, with the gift, I say gift of knowing two cultures and two languages, how has that impacted in the way you provide news around here in the Tulsa Metro?
Well, so I'm very lucky that my team over at Channel 2 has allowed me to almost become a voice for the Hispanic community. They allow me to go into the community and talk to people and do interviews and stories completely in Spanish, which is something that I know a lot of stations don't do. So I'm very, very blessed to be at a team that's open to doing that, knowing that we have, a large population of Hispanic and Latino individuals in Tulsa. And I think it's really amazing to see that my team was so open to that. And that was one of the biggest reasons they hired me on.
What kind of stories kind of draw you when you're out there, as far as when it has to deal with diversity and things of that nature, that you have these expertise, this awareness, this cultural awareness? And so when you're out in the community, what are some of the stories that really just pull you?
Well, I think, and this goes across the board with all communities, right? Just seeing how Tulsa bands together, right? I mean, there's just so many organizations, so many people out there just trying to make not just Tulsa a better place, but the world a better place. And so it's really nice to see that. And I love to do stories championing our community. And again, not just Tulsa, but outside of Tulsa, places around Tulsa. I think it's just, again, great to see how people band together, especially with all the natural disasters that have been happening recently, fires, tornadoes. And again, I think those are the stories that I really like to tell.
No, those are great. Yeah, bringing that humanity into perspective so that people understand that we're all intertwined in some capacity, right? Even if we may speak two different languages or two different cultures, we're still at the end of the day wanting best for our family and our neighbors. So, no, that's fantastic. When you've been covering the Hispanic community, have there been any challenges that you've kind of had to work through when you're getting out there and meeting this community?
Yes. So I think it's safe to say that, especially because the Hispanic community isn't used to being represented in the news, it can be a little bit scary to be talking to someone like me who's a reporter. So at the beginning, it was tough, being able to get people to talk to me about certain things, especially immigration. But now it's really nice to see how people have kind of opened up and have been able to tell me their stories, again, things that can be really hard to talk about. And so being able to see that progress in the community, and again, just everyone that's wished me so much success in my career, I think that has lessened. There's still, again, a lot of mistrust, and not just reporters, but officials overall. And so I think it's important that I keep going out there, making sure people know I'm someone they can trust. And again, something like this helps me with that. So I really do appreciate being on here. And, just again, telling our stories.
Well, no, that's fantastic. I was curious as to if like these, so I think of Telemundo and Univision and how they color people's narrative and what they fear, because this is what, in some cases, they might lead with the story of immigration raids or things that just really get the Hispanic community hit them with a lot of anxiety. Do you feel that when you go out and are trying to report on something, that they start asking you questions about what is truth and what is not truth, because they're seeing it on the national landscape, but something that may be happening in Chicago, there's fear that it might be local. Do you find any of that happening when you're out reporting?
Yes. So there's a lot of people always asking me, again, depending, like you said, things are happening nationally, all around the world, really. And people are asking, is that happening here in Tulsa, or is that happening, in Owasso? Where is that going on? So I've actually gone on certain stories, especially pertaining to immigration, because people have been like, hey, can you check this out for us? Let us know, let us know if this is something that's happening. And so I was able to go, straight to the sheriff's department, got some answers from them, regarding their holds and things like that. And so being able to take those concerns straight to the top is really, really part of our mission, not just for me, but over at Channel 2. We really want to be able to advocate for people and get them answers and really listen to what the community is asking for.
Has your upbringing and your background, how did it draw you to journalism? I'm just curious as to how you, from where you and your family to where you are now, how did you get here?
So it's actually a really funny story. And I actually wanted to be a veterinarian for a very long time. I think until I was almost 18. But my dad, my dad is a businessman, right? So he sat me down and he was like, so are you sure that you want to be a veterinarian? And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about it for almost 20 years. I really want to be a vet. Like, I love animals. I want to help them as much as I can. And he was like, all right, that's really cool. I like animals too. But would you be able to put one of them down if you needed to? And then I was like, no. So then that was very quickly crushed. But I realized, and he sat down with me and he said, so what are you going to do with your life? And I was like, that's a great question. And I sat down and I started thinking about it. And I didn't realize how much I was involved in public speaking my whole life. I mean, I was doing the morning show in elementary school, middle school, and even high school. And in high school, I even started doing more editing and things like that and getting into the behind the scenes. And I realized I always liked writing, always, ever since I was a kid. And I realized, well, I like public speaking, I like writing, and now I like editing. And that basically has to do everything with journalism. So it kind of led me down my path. I did my undergrad over at Florida State, and then I did my master's in Syracuse.
Seminoles.
Go Seminoles, right? Go Noles. And then in Syracuse, I did my master's in broadcasting and digital journalism. And that's really what helped me, focus my interest and really, again, give me that information and background that I needed to be where I am today. I really do like highlighting how the community is, again, getting together to make sure that everyone has what they need. One of my biggest stories that I've done here, most impactful to me, was about a family who had suffered a horrible tragedy, and they needed somewhere to stay. However, their house had burned down. And so, they needed basically everything, new pipes, tiles, furniture, everything. But their local community of, Hispanic and Latino individuals in the neighborhood just banded together and made sure that they got a brand new house, basically constructed it top to bottom. Yeah, pipes and everything. A lot of it was donated by companies. So the furniture was donated by a local a furniture company, and the owner was like, just take it, we know that you all need it. And so, so it was really just collaborative and just really nice to see. And it was also really nice being there to see the reaction, because I went for the housewarming party. Yeah, a lot of tears, happy tears. And again, it just shows people living united here in Tulsa.
No, that's fantastic. Having that extra voice out there in the community is fantastic. And we're so excited to having you here. One of the things that we often talk about in the messaging to the non-Hispanic community, the economic impact that our Hispanic community does for not only the Tulsa Metro, but for the state of Oklahoma. Have you had any opportunity to speak to that when you're reporting out there so that, kind of getting more of that collaborative buy-in from others that are non-Hispanic that realize that how do we work together to protect and grow and nurture that relationship?
Right. No, I think the economic impact is such an important factor. Every day it seems, people tell me this all the time too, every day it seems like there's a new Hispanic restaurant, or a new taco stand popping up somewhere. And that's amazing, right? Because not only does that help to, help our economy in Tulsa and surrounding areas, but it also helps to diversify the community, right? People get to try new food, new snacks. And I'm really glad you asked about this because I just did a story about this last weekend about how there's been such a big population boom in Hispanic and Latinos in Tulsa. Actually, since 2010, there's been more than 38,000 Hispanic and Latino individuals who've made it to Tulsa. And so that's obviously led to, a bit of an economic boom here. And so I was able to do a story on a new plaza that actually came up on Garnett. And it's been a big deal because this place allows people to rent out their own places and, be able to sell their own goods and, again, just facilitate more into our economy. And so, again, that story was really based on the data. And again, so I just think it's important, like you said, to show that economic impact.
Yeah, no, absolutely. No, well, thank you for doing that. Just continuing to build that collaboration. And that's something I wanted to also ask. One of the things that we embody here is Living United, which is collaboration. It's all one big village and how we help each other. With you and your time and talent and how you're able to bring the collaborative spirit that you bring, how would you say for you is Living United look like successfully?
So I think Tulsa does a great job of living united. I mean, not just from the stories I cover, but just seeing things on social media, right? Organizations like the United Way, like you all, there's a lot of nonprofits, and I think they're all very organized here in Tulsa. So everyone kind of knows what their mission is, and I see a lot of collaborations, again, on socials and websites like, hey, we're going to be teaming up to do this. We're going to have this event so that we can all, pitch in. And so I think Tulsa does a great job of living united and making sure that people are getting what they need, right? Whether it's food, clothes, water. I know during the winter time, there's a lot of clothing drives, especially because of, just the bitter cold that we experience. I did a lot of stories on the warming shelters that happened or that popped up because of the cold weather that was happening. And again, I just seen that, people really caring, and a lot of it's volunteer work too. So again, just seeing everyone pitch in and do their part is just amazing. And so I think everyone in Tulsa is really doing a great job of making sure that they're coming together for a bigger cause.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, the generosity, that's one that I see over and over. It's one of the reasons that drew me to come work here, because so many people just want to lend a hand, apply themselves to the mission, whatever that mission is, food insecurity, triaging emergencies, etc. So just really excited to have you here with us, Isabel, and for Living United. And so as we move together forward, we look forward with that partnership with Channel 2 News and the Tulsa Area United Way. So thank you everyone for joining us here at the podcast and Living United.